Saguaro Boys.
So, Chris, you brought this game to my attention just recently, and it looks pretty cool, so we decided that we were going to do a preview of it. It's called State of Decay.
Yes, and it'll be on Xbox Live Arcade and PC to start out.
And when does that come out? It's
spring 2013 is what we're hearing.
And this is made by
Undead Labs.
Which that's like a new studio or something?
I've never heard of them before, but
but didn't you say it was part of like Microsoft Studios or like a subsidiary?
Microsoft Studios has something to do with it. I don't know.
So let's explain what this is.
It is a open world zombie apocalypse survival game.
/sim / real-time strategy
exactly. It wears a lot of hats. There is no character creation. You start the game and you are just a random character. It drops you in a random place on the map and you pretty much have to just survive from there. It does have a storyline. What that storyline is, I don't know.
Both you and I are major zombie aficionados.
Yeah.
When it comes to movies or
by far our favorite genre.
Yeah, especially games and stuff. Yes. It's something we're both very interested in. I think we have a pretty similar philosophy on like what we are cool with and not cool with when it comes to zombie media.
Yeah.
I guess you'd say. It's kind of in vogue right now to do zombie games. Everything's zombie, or if it's not a zombie game, they'll make a zombie mod for it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of getting to the point where it's getting a little beaten to death.
Everything's going zombie, all the way to the ammo manufacturers that have zombie rounds out.
Yeah, I was at Bass Pro Shops today, and all the cases and the ammo, it's all zombie. Yep. The targets are zombies. So, given that, it seems like this game is a little different, and I know they all say that, but to me, even, it seems different because it blends a lot of stuff. It kind of cherry picks the best things of the different types of zombie games that people have released. What stood out for you about this? Like, what caught your eye about this?
When I first texted you, I told you that, or I remind you of when we had talked about what our perfect zombie game would be. Back in the day. And we like to blend elements from many different games. We wanted like construction and fortification choices and be able to actually make it not necessarily as realistic as possible, because you can get mundane when it gets too realistic, but we wanted choices. I saw an article about this game and I just thought, another zombie game, so I'll read about it. And as I started reading about it, there were a lot of the things we wanted were in this game, or they're talking about having them in the game.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm noticing, because it's like there's either the zombie games where you're killing hordes of zombies, or there's like the DayZ kind, which is sort of this. This is very DayZ reminiscent to me, at least from what I've seen.
That's what I thought of at first too. Is it seemed more like DayZ and less like Left 4 Dead or Dead Rising and stuff like that.
I feel like there's games like DayZ that claim to have all the elements people want in a zombie game, but they kind of incorporate them pretty loosely. Like DayZ, it's like, you can build fortifications. Well, you can build little like tank trap things if you find the piece, and that's all you can build. Or, you can build a little barbed wire thing. You can't we always wanted a game where you can go into a building, any building, you can board the windows and doors, you can build walls around it, you can set traps and stuff. And I mean, I don't know that this does all those things, but it seems like it's more leaning in that direction. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto with zombies plus like building simulation.
Yeah. From what I've read, there are certain buildings you can go into and turn into your home base. Which is where you're safe to sleep and everything. You can board up windows, which you actually supposedly hammer the boards with nails and everything. You can't use furniture or anything to barricade doors and windows, so it's not that realistic. But you do get to choose, and you do get to make the modifications yourself. You can add infirmaries, workshops to build stuff, and garages to fix cars and stuff like that.
So let's talk specifically about gameplay. It looks like you start... Are you okay?
I was just breathing, sorry. I didn't want to breathe into the microphone, so I'm breathing.
So it looks like you start with I don't know, do you get people or do you just start with this group of people?
No, you start by yourself.
So you have to find the people.
Yes. And so you start out by yourself. I don't know how quickly you are able to, like I said, from what I hear, you get started in a random spot on the map. So I don't know how quickly you can fortify a home base or whatnot. But you do go out and you come across survivors. And it sounds like you can either save the survivor or you can kill them yourself and try and take their stuff. Try and kill them and take their stuff. I don't think you're just the hot shot that can kill anyone. You're very mortal in this game. Or you can just leave them and eventually the zombies will kill them and you can come back and find their gear, whatever's left of their gear anyways.
The gameplay is open world. I've seen the map and some gameplay demos, and it looks like it's a fairly large area, kind of like a rural-looking place.
Yes, it's a small town in a rural area that you start out in, or the whole map is, so you can either choose to hole up in a cabin way away from civilization, but then you have to travel far to get supplies, or you can stay closer to town and risk there being more zombies around.
So once you establish a base, which I'm not sure how you do that.
You have to clear out all the zombies, and there's some process to actually claim the base, as long as it's a claimable building, because you can either claim it as a home base, or there are some buildings that be claimed as like outposts where you can keep supplies and stuff, and it'd be like a safe house. So if you're out on a raiding mission and you need stuff, you can go to the safe house and have a safe place to go. Now,
so the general gameplay is like an open world. I would compare it to GTA, but it's not like there's cars and stuff, but it looks like everything is scarce in this game. There's not there's not a lot of anything. There's not a lot of supplies. There's not a lot of ammo. There's not a lot of vehicles, but they do all exist. So there's kind of that like free roaming, do what you want. But the developer also said that there's going to be a plot to it.
Yeah, they said that there is a definite plot that you follow. I don't know what kind of story it is, but there is a end goal that you are trying to reach.
It operates at least on a basic gameplay level like GTA, where you can go around and you can kill stuff and you can drive vehicles.
Yeah, and the vehicles, when you find them, for the most part, they're operable. It's not like DayZ where you have to find all repair parts. There'll be some cars that are broken down and you can't drive, but when you find one that's drivable, it's drivable.
Right.
And you can get in it and go. Certain vehicles have different attributes that are either desirable or not desirable. Like a truck can carry more people or supplies, but it's big, loud, won't fit in tight spaces. Noise attracts zombies, light attracts zombies. So you'll go rolling through town in this thing and attract a bunch of zombies. Or you could take like a little hatchback, this little 4-cylinder, and fit into tight spaces, and it's quieter, so you don't attract as many zombies, but you can't carry as many people or as much supplies.
You gather these people, you have vehicles and supplies that you're collecting, you establish a home base, and then I've seen some footage where at this home base, there's different like plots. I don't know if they're predetermined or you just do it wherever, but that you can build things within this home base. Like you can build workshops for different things.
Yeah, you can build infirmaries, workshops, all that stuff. The infirmary is so that you can like regain health and stuff like that.
So it seems like I don't know that you could go about the game a different way than this, but it seems like the optimal thing would be build a group of people and then find a defensible position and then build it into like a fortress effectively.
Pretty much. When I was reading some of the blogs that the developers had, they said it is definitely in your best interest to find as many survivors, or at least some survivors, as possible. Every survivor has different skills. Every survivor has different weaknesses. So you need to build a group of people that will help you survive. Also, you will die. They say you will eventually die as whatever character you're playing. And when you die, you don't go back to a save. You don't respawn. You have to start playing as another survivor that you've saved.
But you also can switch between them, correct?
Yes, you can switch between them. I don't know if it's at any time or if you have to go back to the home base to switch or what, but it's in your best interest to have other survivors because it's almost like having other lives.
Now, on the same note of the survivors, it also appears that you can tell others, because if you're just controlling one, it's not like the other ones are just all standing there. You can tell them to perform tasks, to retrieve things, or to construct things while you're playing as one of them, correct?
Yeah. You can have them go with you. You can tell them to, if you have claimed a building as an outpost or something, you can leave them there to guard that outpost.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, which they also said that there's a possibility, because none of this is like set in stone. A lot of it's going to be in the game, but they're trying to decide what all they can make happen. But they said that some survivors, if you leave them alone in an outpost, if zombies come and start beating on it, they might try and just run away. They might not try and defend it.
Depending on the attributes that person has.
Yeah. And you can also call people on the walkie-talkie if you're out in the town and say, from the home base, come to this place so you can help me carry
really
stuff.
Cool.
But they can get attacked on the way, and you have to go save them. Or they could make it all the way to you and help you carry stuff out. So it's, like I said, it's very realistic without getting into the mundane.
Let's talk about guns, because that's the cornerstone of any good zombie game is weaponry and firearms.
Yeah, the weaponry is pretty basic. No fancy stuff like Dead Island, no flaming machetes or shock machetes or anything like that. There are bladed weapons, blunt weapons, everything like that. And there are firearms, but there isn't like a huge array of firearms. There are going to be shotguns, maybe one or two types of shotguns, hunting rifles. There will be full auto guns as well, handguns, but there's not going to be like 15 types of each.
This is leaning more towards the realistic side of things. Yeah. Well, as realistic as a zombie game could be. But
yeah. So you will have the long range weapons such as a hunting rifle, but you won't have like 15 different types of hunting rifle. Customization is limited. I hear that you'll have the option to make silencers, stuff like that. But you can't, like I said, you can't make like a flaming machete or anything like that.
It seems like they've constructed something where strategy is really rewarded as far as planning how to approach a situation and handle it.
Yeah, because the world is ever evolving as well. If you gather supplies in a certain area too much, pretty soon the supplies are going to dwindle there. You'll go back and there won't be anything there. There'll probably be more zombies there because your activity level has been so high there that it's just going to be more dangerous to go there. So you need to spread out how you gather stuff. Vehicles are destructible. Hordes of zombies can literally rip doors off of vehicles, pull you out of them. They can climb on vehicles while you're driving. If you crash into stuff, the vehicle will stop working eventually. You can repair vehicles, but you have to have somebody that knows how to repair vehicles, and you have to have the workshop to repair the vehicles in. So strategy is huge because it's in your best interest to know how you're going to get in, a safe way to get out, and plan as much as you can like you would realistically.
And it looks like it's got all the classic elements of distraction with light and with sound and trying to draw them away, because sometimes it might be more advantageous to not engage them if you're low in resources or it's too risky, and maybe just distract them to get into where you need to be.
Like the developers released that video, I believe it was on Halloween, called Distraction, and in the video they use a firecracker to distract zombies, and then as the zombies are like around the firecracker, the character slips into a store to get stuff out and then leaves.
One thing we haven't talked about yet is graphics. This is an Xbox Live arcade game, which traditionally those are kind of like lower caliber. There's a reason they're not a major release. But in this case, at least from what I've seen from all the alpha gameplay, it looks like it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
It's not Skyrim or something.
Yeah, they didn't. I when I first saw it, I thought, man, the graphics aren't the most amazing or best I've ever seen. But I think that lends more to the fact that they're putting more thought into everything else. They don't need it to be as flashy.
I would say for an Xbox Live arcade game, it's definitely awesome. Yeah. And that's not to say that they won't eventually upgrade the graphics, because it's still in like early builds. Yeah. But even if it was just as it is, I would still play it. Yeah. I mean, it looks definitely passable.
The Distraction video, the graphics look really good, actually. Totally. Yeah. Versus the first trailer where it looked a little rougher. But again, I mean, the movements and everything are good. The sneaking is good. I mean, the substance is really there.
Not to be the pessimist, but having followed video games for a while, and having people like Peter Molyneux from the Fable series set a very bad precedent.
He's making all these promises, and then
the new Fable is going to be the best Fable ever, the best video game ever. Yeah. So we have to assume that this will not live up to all of what it's saying. I mean, it could.
Yeah.
But if it does live up to all of the promises that they're making at, what is it, Undead Studios?
Yeah, Undead Labs.
Undead Labs.
Yes.
That this should be a really, really cool game.
Yeah, and that's everything that I read from the start. Right away, I said, this has the chance of being a hugely popular and awesome game, or it could just be a huge letdown.
Yeah, this is all going to depend on budget. It's going to depend on how big the development team is. It's going to depend on the due dates and how Microsoft Studios is pressuring them to get things out.
How I feel, because on their website they have a bunch of blogs that are written by their developers and everything talking about, and they seem so passionate about the game and wanting it to be what their dream was and what they envisioned, that I think it has a really good chance. It's not like the Fable series where it's like some big name where they can make all these promises and people are going to buy it anyways. I think this one is solely going to depend on how good it is when it first comes out and how much people like it to how popular it becomes.
It seems like their hearts are in the right place, and they have a similar mentality to you and I as how to approach the genre, what people want and what's been lacking in previous games. So hopefully they're able to deliver with that.
Yes, and that's what I saw in a lot of the comments is people were saying, oh, this is like my dream game. So they've already taken stuff out that they feel is going to take away from the game.
And this is going to be a single-player game.
Yeah, they talked about having co-op and all that stuff, but they decided that just for the initial release, it's going to be single player.
I would rather they focus on it in that way anyways.
And then they're talking about the code name for this game was Class 3, and the code name, now it's obviously State of Decay. And they have a code name for the next game they want to do, which is called Class 4, which the closest thing it is to is a MMO. They want to have but they don't want to call it an MMO because they don't want it to fall into a specific genre.
So a multiplayer version of a similar type game.
Yeah. But they don't want it to just be another World of Warcraft clone. They want it to be its own type of game.
Easier said than done.
Yes, but they are talking about making one that's multiplayer, but who knows when that'll come out.
So I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on this.
Absolutely.
This has my interest for sure. So keep your eyes out for State of Decay.